at the start, but still now we were only discussing the layout, right? We haven't actually done anything major here. Okay, so now you
it's
see that.
incredibly valuable. Thank you.
Yeah. So now you see that you have the workspace, right? The workspace is created. The next piece is publishing your reports onto this workspace, right? So if you would go back to workspaces, go back to the workspace option.
This one.
Right, in my workspace. You see all these dashboards are sitting within your my workspace, right? So they can be accessed by you, but you cannot share them with anyone else, right? So now you would start publishing dashboards within the Boss Energy workspace, so that like for the workspaces that you want to share, right? You can't do it from here. What you need to do is you need to open those dashboards within your Power BI desktop and then use the publish option.
So say for this one here.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, now you have the publish option, right? Publish to Power BI. Right, so now you see you have the Boss Energy workspace available. Just click on select. So once this gets published, right, you will see in the workspace you will have groundwater monitoring dashboard report as well as the data set. Okay, so you go into Boss Energy.
Okay, yep.
Right, you have both the dashboard as well as the data set.
Okay.
I will now take you through the data set, right? The report is the same as you saw on the right, but the data set is important because this is where you can schedule your refreshes, or if you want to refresh your dashboard on a frequency, you can do that using the data set option. Okay, so you see there are two options next to the name. One is one is the refresh button, and the second is schedule refresh. Okay, then there are the three dots. So just click on the three dots. You will see all these options, right? So there is also a very nifty option within Power BI, which is analyze in Excel. How this helps is, if you would click on this, so just click on this, it will create an Excel file which will have a pivot. Okay, this file will have a pivot directly linked to your data set. Okay, so any time that data set gets refreshed, even your Excel will be refreshed. Okay. Right, and then you can use it for multiple reasons, right? So for example, if you want to validate your data, that okay, now the data got refreshed, but you can set up a validation report within Excel, right? That okay, my data is coming up correctly or not, and all those kind of things, and you will have all the, and the other benefit is you see the transformations that you do in Power Query, right? That is also available to you here, right? Okay. Yeah, so you don't have to do that in Excel and use it. So it's like a connected environment to your Power BI. Okay, so can you go back? Okay, so go back to the three dots. So other options are like create another report using this data set, or auto create a report. A lot of these options, right? So then you can see there is security, there is rename, right? There is settings. So settings is the one where you will see a lot more options. Okay, so you see in the settings you have the data set description where you can specify anything if you want. Then there is the gateway connections. Okay, so what is a gateway? Okay, that is a question that would come up in your mind, right? Because a gateway is something which is a way to access data for this Power BI data set. Okay, so there can be two sources of data. One is your online source or a cloud source, and another is your sources which are on premises. Okay, so it can be your Excel files, it can be your SQL Server databases which are on your local machine or on a server, right? So to access the data sources which are not cloud based, you need an on-premises data gateway created. Okay, there is an application that you need to install, and then there is a whole data gateway setup. I'm not sure how useful it will be for you because you are already using Dataverse, right? So that's an online source or a cloud source, so that will not be an issue. Now the next option is data source credentials, right? So just click on this and you see that you are using this CDC, right? and you can see the credentials as well when you click on edit credentials. So this is already right. So I think you don't need a sign in, but we will see. Like we will try and refresh this dashboard and see if it works. Then you don't need to enter the credentials again, right?
Okay.
Now click on cancel.
Yep.
The next is parameters, right? So parameters are something which are defined within the data set, right? So I can give you an example of a parameter, right? So for example, if you have data coming in from a source, say a table, right? And you set up a parameter. So if you would go back to Power BI desktop, I will show you where we can set up a parameter.
Yep.
Right. So go to transform data.
It's probably a bad example because I created this first and haven't cleaned up anything inside it.
No problem. We
like
are not creating anything. I'm just like giving you
example.
like showing you the place. Yeah, giving you an example of how this is done. Okay, it's quite slow, right? Anyways, okay. Now on the top you see home transform, right? So click on any one of them. Right. Can you click on home? Can you, if you double click, it will be expanded. Like you don't have to do it again, right? So you can double click on it. Yes, perfect. Right. So here you see all these options, right? Then you see an option next to data source settings called manage parameters, right? This is the same thing that we are talking about in the Power BI service data set, right? So you can click on a new parameter, for example. Okay, and just give it a name, say today.
So this is like when I set up my table columns in BI where I define what sort of column it is and what sort of data it contains. Is that,
No,
so
no, it's not.
No?
Do you have any kind of coding experience, like any language?
No.
Okay. So just to, like, in a layman term, this is like a variable. So this is kind of a variable. In a coding term, it's called variables. So what variables are? They store a value. Okay. So for example, if I want to create a variable called today, right, where I want to store the value of today's date, right? So every day that value will get updated, right? So today is 11th, right? And if we would look at the same variable tomorrow, it will show us 12th, right? So this is the same thing. Yeah, this is the same thing, right? You can create a parameter. An active field. An active field, right? So what you can do is you can use these parameters within your Power Query. So for example, when you are loading data, right, you can change. So click on cancel. Right, click on cancel. You see next to manage parameters, there is refresh preview, right? And then there is the advanced editor.
Yeah.
Also, Catherine, just let me know if I am too fast or if it gets too
Sure.
overwhelming for you,
Sure,
right?
no
So,
worries.
right. Okay. So click on advanced editor.
Yep.
Okay. So this is kind of the coding window for
Yes.
whatever you are doing in the Power Query, right? Where you apply your steps, you remove columns or you replace values.
And I understand the basis of it. And I've modified it. Like I understand the logic behind it, but yeah, I'm definitely not familiar with it in a professional setting. So
yeah, I get that, right? So I will try and be as I would try and
simple.
make you understand in a simple way. Yeah. So no problems with that, right? So you already have done some modifications in the advanced editor window, right? In the same way, you can modify this code, right? So this code is called M query. M is in M language, right? So the language for this code is called M. The reason I'm telling this to you is it would be useful for you to know when you are working with ChatGPT, right? Because you will basically tell ChatGPT, okay, I need a tax formula or I need a M query transformation, right? So and you can make changes to this code to add that parameter that you create for today, right? So for example, if you only want data for today, so in the date field in your data, you would just say that date is equal to, or the date column is equal to today, right? The filter value, and that will keep on changing. See, because it's a active field, right? So every day only today's data will be displayed. So that is a parameter that you create.
All right.
Right. And if you go back to the Power BI service.
This one or the
no, the online one, the one on the edge, right? So this is where you basically set the parameter using the query editor window. Although we don't need it, and I'm not like, I'm very skeptical that we might need it in the future as well. But there are other ways to deal with this as well, right?
Would this be? I mean, just from a simplistic point, what I'm already and I'll just show you quickly now, just as an example. Your data entry, this one. No, not that one. Oops. So this one here. So if I created a new report, I could have today's date automatically show up here when I created it. Would that be a method of using that parameter field?
Because at the moment, but that would be in Power Apps, So you can make changes here as well. So I will show you how to do that once we go on to Power Apps.
Okay, but obviously that's not necessarily going to be useful, as you said, for Power BI.
For your, in your case, right? But that's how parameters work, right?
Okay.
So if go back to the edge, go back to Power BI. Right. So the next option is very technical, and I'm not sure if he's like, I'm sure it won't be used for you. It's query caching, right? So see, the way sometimes the way we have to work in our projects is there are these large data sets, right? And what happens is that we have to run a direct query instead of a table load, right? So when you go to Power BI desktop, go back to Power BI desktop. Right. So just click on Get Data. And can you click on the SQL Server database, for example, in the list? In the list. No, it was on the top. Not this one.
Oh, sorry,
the one above. This one. Click on Connect. Okay, you see that you have the server and you have the import option and direct query, right? So, but then you see there is an advanced option. So can you expand it? You see, so rather than directly connecting to a table, sometimes there is a requirement that because you are joining two different tables and bringing it in, that you need to give it a SQL statement, right? Rather than, and then it becomes very heavy, right? Even if you are not giving it a SQL statement and you are doing a direct import, the tables can be very large, right? And it would take a long time to refresh, right? So, and then there are some static tables, like the tables that don't change very often, right? So for those kind of situations, you can use query caching, right? Where you would just say, okay, you can cache the information. So you know how, like when you are on edge, right? The first time you open a website, it's slow, but then it keeps on coming faster because it has cached some information, right? Stored some information within the memory. So it's the similar concept in Power BI, right? So click on cancel and move back to the report, right? So the next one is something which is very useful, which is the scheduled refresh. Okay, so this is basically where we schedule our refreshes, right? So here you see it will give you whether you want to do it or not, and what should be the refresh frequency, right? So if you would click in the refresh frequency drop down, you would see different options, right? You would see daily, weekly, 1 hour, 2 hours. So just say daily, right? And then you need to tell it like what time you want to refresh it, right? So just select add time. And just give it a time, right? So this way, say at 2 a.m. it will automatically get refreshed. So right, so this is how the refresh scheduling works within a database, within a data set, right? So now go back to workspaces. No, within the service. I mean the workspaces. Towards the left you have the workspace, right? Workspaces and boss energy. It will get confusing. I can understand that. It's the first time you're looking at this. So just click on boss energy. Okay, so you see that the next refresh is scheduled, and can you click on like just next to the name of the data set, you have the refresh option. No, not this one. Just before this. So you have the name, groundwater monitoring dashboard, and then you have this circle, right?
Oh sorry, refresh.
Refresh, right? Just click on it. It has not started somehow. Oh, is it getting the okay? So it's a very fast refresh. Okay, so it just gets, so this is working perfectly, right? It gets refreshed in a second, and yeah, and then this schedule refresh is also done, because see, the reason was that you were already on a cloud data environment, right? So you did, if you would have created your reports in Excel, like the data entry thing, then you would have to do a lot of things, right? One way is that you would have to create a data gateway to access that, but then your system needs to be logged in at the time of the refresh, right? So that it can, the data gateway can work. Another way is, if you have an Excel that you need to connect and you don't want the data gateway set up, then you need to move it to OneDrive, and through the OneDrive link you would reconnect the Excel file to your report. So that's another way to going about it, right? So this was all about how we set up the environment. Okay. Now coming back to giving accesses, right? So that will be done in the manage access app, like, or the manage access situation. So if you would go back to manage access, so you see the three dots right at the top. You have new upload, yeah, just click on that, manage access. So click on add people or groups. You see the viewer below, it says viewer, right below this at bottom. So these are all the roles that you can assign to someone who wants to have access to your reports. Okay, so a viewer is just who can view the report and filter down on it and do those changes, right? Contributor is someone who can edit your reports within the with the contributor, he can edit the reports within the Power BI service itself, right? And he can a member can also delete or add new reports, right? So contributor cannot delete any report or add something. A member can do that, and admin can, as usual, do everything that everyone else can, and he can even remove the workspace itself. So he has all accesses. So this is something which will be useful when we will go on to the access part, right? How to give accesses to people. Okay, so this covers up the environment, right? And how it gets set up. Now, maybe if you have any questions on this, we can take that, and then we will move on to the DAX stuff.
Yeah, look, the only things that we've touched on a few of them. So I'll just go shut the door. My kids are making a ruckus.
Okay.
So I think I mentioned to you yesterday that the company I work for isn't very well advanced. They're a startup mining company, and just because it's sometimes it's easier to just do things yourself. What I've got is I've just got some iPad minis which I have logged onto in terms of Power BI and Power Apps, and then what I plan to, at least just in the short term, because I didn't know any other way around it, was just enabling them to then access the apps to be able to input data, say, on site.
Okay.
And so that was the Power Apps one. The BI, like I mentioned to you yesterday, I didn't know any other way around, because if I give them a report, they can edit it. And I think one of the